My money don't jiggle jiggle. It's gone. I gotta build a guitar. That's fun. Welcome back. Most of the time when I'm doing a video, we've got an agenda, so to speak. And today is no different, but the agenda is different. Welcome to YouTube, I guess. I'm going to be building this guitar for the University of Rhode Island Guitar Festival this October. And if you're counting, that's just a mere 7 weeks away, unless it's happened, and then enjoy the process. This guitar is going to be my signature model, so it's going to have Brazilian rosewood sides and back, spruce top. You can check wherever we put it for the introduction to that, where my good friend Adam Levin talks about the show itself. And if you're not going, you should. It's truly one of the best guitar shows I've ever been to, year after year, with some of the most incredible acts, and every year the concerts are unreal. This year I believe Tommy Emmanuel is the headliner, so if nothing else, come out for that. I mean, that's going to be incredible. So enough blah blah blah. Let's actually build a guitar the way that I build a guitar on my day-to-day process, not how I'm going to do it so that way I can maximize every second of filming and then work furiously behind the scenes so that way it looks like nothing happens and then it just comes together. So with that said, first things first, you know, we've already selected the wood. Adam and I did that. We got some great wood, beautiful spruce top. And one of the problems right now is that all of my rosewood is dipped in wax to prevent excessive cracking. So we're gonna go ahead and get that scraped off. I will say that in the past, I've seen people use heat guns. That's not so great because the wax wicks in and that creates issues. I actually like to reach for my trusty scraper and scrape it off. Although that said, don't scrape it directly onto the floor because wax is slippery, and I have a very big slippery spot over in the other side of the shop where my garbage can is, and I figured I should probably make this spot slippery as well. One thing that I forgot, and it's one of those things where I do it so often, I don't even think about it. I have to make some glue because in order to properly do this, I also have to get my neck glued up to its proper length and my neck block glued together, so that way as soon as this is done and those are dry, we can get the sides bent and get that process out of the way. So I'm gonna go make some glue. Check out the video for that too. We'll have links to these videos down in the description on the more in-depth nerdy stuff about that. So let's make some glue. One of the things that I really like to do after I get all the wax taken off is I like to take it over to my thickness sander. I don't use a planer for this because wood like this is just way too expensive, and my thickness planer is ancient and so on and so forth. Anyways, I like to use a sander because it's really gentle to bring things down. And I'm actually not going to glue the back together and then send it through. I'm gonna just get everything mostly the same thickness, so that way when I'm gluing it together, everything kind of works out right. And while I've got the machine running, I'm also going to send the sides through and get these actual down to final thickness for me, just to maximize my efficiency at the sander. As always, ears on. I've got dust collection that's going to be running. My thickness sander is ancient, so it's really hands-on. So if I drop the camera, sorry. Okay, so that took a while to get these down, but I mean, the sides are the right thickness. They're absolutely gorgeous. I'll find where the sides are in here. I have the backs roughly sanded down to about this, well, the same thickness, but almost flat, not quite, because there's some here. But that'll go away later on. I just want to get the gluing edge more or less the same thickness, so that way when I glue this together, I'm not accidentally gluing it, you know, cupped one side or the other, ending up too thin. It's a really quick way to kind of speed things up later on. But next, I want to get the neck going, and since I'm using one of my necks, this is actually a surprisingly fast process, because we're about 2 hours into this build, and I'll have a neck down here pretty quickly. So, the way that I do this is that I'll take a pencil, didn't have to look for it, and I like to measure from the edge of my headstock, which I've already got measured and cut, and I'm going to measure out roughly 5.5 millimeters, so that way I have room for the nut. From there, I take my fret rule, which this one is for a 650 millimeter scale made out of aluminum bar stock, and I've got 12th fret marked out here. I'm going to line up one edge of this slot against my pencil line, slightly proud of it because things move around a little bit. And I'm going to come over here to my 12th fret, which is here, and I'm going to make a mark on exactly the same side. So it's this side to this side. And once I have that, I can take my square, adjustable square. I'm going to just make a mark here. And in order to kind of facilitate things and make time go quicker, I have this tapered jig, which has got some numbers on it. But the important numbers that I'm looking for right now are like this 52, 53, 54, whatever. And I'm just going to visually, because at this point in time, we're just getting rid of material. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put this 53 at the headstock, so that way it'll measure out at 53 millimeters here. And then it'll go wider out here, and I'm just going to visually center it up. Again, doesn't matter. Oops. And I'm going to just strike a line down here. This way, I know that when I cut it off here with this pencil line, I will also be able to cut off this, and I'm going to be rough down to my neck shape, and then I'll scrape and I'll get this on, but first things first, let's just cut this at the bandsaw. As always, ears and dust protection, and make sure you start off with 10 fingers and hopefully end up with 11. I forgot to strike my line. Now that I've got that, I have this, and this is unique to the way that I build. I like this system, so bear with me. I've got some distance here, and I know I've talked about it in other videos, which there will be a link to some of those in the description. Just from here to here, whatever this number is, and it doesn't matter as long as whatever you do is consistent with everything going forward. And I'll just kind of take this and bump it up here. Give it a little scratch over my center line. Take that and just give it a good hole, you know. And I'm going to drill a small hole, in my case 3/16. You do you. And this is going to be a location pin for my neck carver, my neck routing jig for the back, as well as the neck angle setting machine. So this is actually a very important hole. So not very deep, but just deep enough. Grab my trusty scraper, which I've used a million times before. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a hollow. And by the way, somebody commented on a previous video, why don't I make sure it's a perfectly flat surface when I do this? Which is a reasonably good question. The reason being is that if you have two flat surfaces and you add moisture, they're both going to expand at different rates. If I have a slightly concave surface and a lot of clamping pressure, it can go close to flat, and then I can squish it the rest of the way. And this is also off of a machine, in this case that sander, which leaves a 60 grit tail behind. So I kind of want that to be gone. I don't want those sanding marks. And this is also off of a hand plane, and I make these up along with my neck blocks in big batches. They're time consuming, and I don't want to take the time to have to make them. And again, all this, we're still at the visual stage, so I'm going to just clamp this here and then put two little, well, actually just one clamp here, and that'll be plenty. I have my glue ready to go. I've got a clamp ready to go, and I'm going to make a mad scramble for the other clamp because, tradition. Anywho, I'm just going to spread glue. Oh, sorry. Forgot my catchphrase. 1, 2, spread your glue. So, one clamp down. Second clamp down. And this is going to be good, and I'll deal with this more tomorrow. But until then, this is going to dry. The second thing that I like to do at this moment is to get my neck block glued together, because I like to use a big tongue on mine. This side will go against the back. Yes, it still has the rough sawn marks. Doesn't matter because we're going to be angling it later. These both have been flattened out. Again, we're just going off of visuals here. We're not going for the big grand perfection yet. Just because. So here we go with this. Glue on, and try to always glue over your glue pot so that way when it inevitably drips, it drips back into the pot. This visually about right there. And one big clamp down, and I'll chase this in about 5 seconds with a paper towel. Got one. If I was smart, I'd put one under the bench. Then I'd look like Mario Batali minus the Crocs. And the red hair. And the Vespa. And the grocery stores. And the allegations. Other than that, me and Mario Batali are just the same. We'll sand out that later on. So this now dries. And those two aspects are done. So neck, done. Blocks, mostly done. And now we get to join the back, join the top. And actually, I think I'm going to do the back first, because I can start working on that while the top dries. I get the distinct honor to decide how this back goes together. Now, I could either go for the straight grain with a little bit of the knot here, which I think is quite beautiful, but I really, really like this spiderwebby bit. So what I may consider doing, because I really, really like this, I think I'm going to put it together this way, which gives it this beautiful kind of growing organic feel. And I've got this form that I've made out of some acrylic, and I kind of just want to visualize the guitar itself and make sure I've got enough room on the wings to do what I want to do. What I'm going to do is just run this over the joiner to get it where I want it to be. And I think I want to open it up a little bit in this direction, so I'll be taking off more from here than up here to close up that gap. So, to the joiner. And as always, ears. That was easy. Look at that. That's really pretty, isn't it? So now I can see how much room I have, which I'm happy with that. And It also does the service of making sure that I'm away from this little check out here at the edge. And side benefit of this is that I'll be able to hear my fencing coach complain about the way I use a jointer, because he's also a woodworker. And he also can count to 10, so he has legitimate complaint, but I still can count to 10. All right, let's get that plane out, and we'll do our usual joining of the plates. Again, video for that. Well, actually, heck with it. There's a whole playlist of me building a guitar and how to do this stuff. All right, so while we're at it, forgot to mention, I should probably get this top going as well. What I'm going to do is just the same thing. I'm going to run it over the joiner. That way, once I have my joining plane set up, I can just do both at the same time. Then that will be able to dry. And I'll be able to install the rosette on this tomorrow. So, let's get this run over the joiner. As always, much like Dave Portnoy, 5 passes, everybody knows the rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and repeat. And that will give me, with my body geometry and my planes and my setup, a perfect joint. Yes, don't make the jokes, I already did. Much like Dave Portnoy, sometimes that's 6. Well, he's 2, but whatever. This one I felt like the chatter from the joiner was a little bit deeper than the other side, which is weird, but wood is variable. So I took 1 extra pass to make sure that I was past the discrepancy. I'm going to do the same for these backs. That is beautiful. So now we get to clamp it and glue it together. And yes, that is the right order in this case. Because this is rosewood, high glue works really, really well for it. But there's something that works better because of the oils and the pH and because it's a supported joint. And maybe we'll have to blur it out, maybe we won't. We'll see. One of the things that's interesting about these is, and one of the reasons why I do things the way that I do, is that a lot of these rosewoods will have an inherent twist in them initially, because we've only taken a little bit off and so on and so forth. If you see it like this, and you glue it together in this position, you're actually going to not have enough wood here in the middle. And I see this on a lot of young luthier guitars, so this is why I take things down. But if I put a little bit of pressure down onto this, oddly enough, everything evens out, or at least closely. I mean, these are still close to 4 millimeters thick, which is really, really meaty. So even if it's not perfectly lined up, it will work. So I'm going to gently pull all my clamps into place. I'm going to push down across the clamp and pull it in here. Make sure I'm lined up the way I want to be, which I'm not, of course. There we go. And so these are open a little bit because they're not clamped. But I have this bit here. So I'm going to use my secret weapon to glue this. It's going to go really quick, all right? And there we go. Just like that, as soon as this is dry, we're going to be able to start working it same day. And if you play your cards right and time it out well, you can actually do it back inside of a single day. And while I'm at it, one of the things that I like to do at this point is just double check the Brazilian rosewood, because this stuff can be very checky. So I take my ultra secret glue, and I'll just run some lines all the way across every couple inches, just double checking for any stress or check marks. And what I'm looking for are really long runs. Like here, it's okay. Over here, there is one that I know of, so I'm just gonna show you what that looks like. So over here, you can see how it kind of runs outside of that line, but that's getting cut off. But this is just what I do to double check to make sure that there are absolutely no check marks in the wood. And if your eyes are watering, then you're using the appropriate amount of glue. It's like an onion or an ogre. All right. Yeah, no checks, much like my bank account. I'm going to move this aside, then let's get the top joined up. As always, we're going to glue from the bottom and let it just drip right back in. So all this wood has been aged in my shop for almost 30 years. And just like that, now my top is joined up. I'm ready to start putting this all aside, and we're going to start in on the sides, because I think everything is kind of in the drying stage. So next up, we're going to scrape off the sides. That'll take a few minutes, and then we'll get the side shape put in and get that cut down. Now all we have to do is scrape down the sides. Our goal is to take about 1/10 of a millimeter off of both sides. This is scraped, this is unscraped. We're getting rid of 60 grit sanding marks. We're not leaving a perfect surface. It's been some time, maybe about 20 minutes, because this glue dries super fast. And I also took care to check the backside for cracks too, because sometimes they don't go all the way through. This is not a foolproof method, but it works pretty darn well. So I'm just going to roughly trace the outline, so that way I don't have to take so much extra stuff off when I'm scraping and sanding. And so I'm just gonna kind of choose where I want. And that's why I make this out of clear plexi. Make sure that your glue is set up, because it will fog this, and it's starting to now. So I'm just gonna take a quick rough perimeter tracing, which gets me close enough. And right now we're not doing exact, we're doing close enough. So I'm gonna bandsaw out, roughly, maybe an inch, inch and a half outside of this, wherever I've got the material to do so. And then I'll make a little notch right here at the center seams on both sides, because sometimes you lose them. So we're gonna bandsaw that out. And now I'm going to take this over to the thickness sander, and I'm going to continue attacking it until I get it about where I want it, which is going to be, I don't know, roughly 2.5, 2.6 millimeters. I'll feel it and listen to it, and that'll kind of tell me where it needs to be. So a lot more sanding, you don't need to see that. We're all sanded back, and I have yet to scrape it. And the only reason I'm telling you that is that I'm getting ready to wrap up day one. It's getting late. For a first half day, this is actually pretty good. So what I'm going to do for the rest of today is just scrape. I'm going to scrape out the back, much like I did the sides. And then I will determine which side is the outside or the inside. And I've determined that this is the outside and this is the inside. And I'm going to get the center strip glued up, which is just a piece of Spanish cedar that's cross-banded. I'm going to use the high glue, and I'll show you that in the next one. please like, subscribe, and if you want to play this guitar or buy this guitar, it's going to be at the University of Rhode Island Guitar Festival. I cannot stress enough how much you should go there. So until then, I'll see you next time, and we're going to do a day 2 on this really shortly. See ya.